as a personal trainer. And so there's so much talk about this holistic approach that is very hot right now. And we agree. This more of taking care of the complete client is such a departure from where I started. Hi, I'm Scott Schutte.
And I'm Dr. Janine Steester.
Welcome to Becoming the Ultimate Coach with the Jock
And the Doc.
We are here to disrupt some of the current thinking around how the fitness industry approaches clients. Our goal is to educate and inspire fitness professionals to get the results, income, hours, and career that they want and deserve.
Our combined experience in education in psychology and fitness create a new insight on ways to become the ultimate coach.
Welcome to Becoming the Ultimate Coach. I'm the Jock, this is the Doc, and today we're going to talk about the future of fitness and making sure that you're not left in the past. So there's a lot of people talking about like, okay, what's the next thing in as a personal trainer? And so there's so much talk about this holistic approach that is very hot right now. And we agree. This more of taking care of the complete client is such a departure from where I started, and it's what most people do. So as a young trainer, I was like, okay, my job is to give people a hard workout. You know, I wanted to be smart as too, but it's all focused on the workout. As I got a little bit more advanced, it was more of like addressing a little bit of the nutrition. And I got more and more advanced. It kind of evolved to this more holistic approach. So Janine, if a coach is just focusing on the exercise side, or even better, yeah, what does this holistic even mean to the clients? Can you kind of break down some of those things?
Yeah, well, and if you look at, some of the ways to sometimes think about this and like, why is this important or where are we going, is just listen to what your clients are talking about. Listen to, even if it's the news, like you're hearing all this stuff, put it together, right? In the sense that we're seeing more and more people see functional medicine doctors move away from classic or traditional medicine, or at least expand. And more people are using chiropractors and acupuncturists and all of these things. And the reason for that is because they're thinking about different facets of themselves, their lifestyles. Especially even also with the pandemic, people have really thought differently about the environments that they live in, because a lot of people spent a lot more time in those environments than ever before. And so they're starting to explore and think. If you look at blogs, if you look at information that's coming through social media and feed, it's more in different language about behavior change and habits and sleep and all these things. We're seeing a really exurgence of sleep specialists, or the TED Talks or the podcasts. People are going into this, master classes. So long story short is your clients are starting to hear and think about this. Their friends are. And if they're already spending some money on exercise and coming to your gym, it's already in some sense a priority. So it's really natural for them to want to think about these things. The other part of this too is that people are naturally goal oriented. What's the next thing? How can I go to that next level? And how much PR can you do in your workouts? And with this exercise, can every day be a PR or a new goal? And maybe it can for some people, but for some of your individuals that are really just working on mobility and overall strength and things like that, that might be harder to generate. So thinking about them as that holistic person. How's their sleep? How's their stress? How's their relationships? Are they hanging out with people that support some of their goals? What are they doing outside of the gym with you? And thinking about that, you're not in charge of their life. You are not their primary medical doctor. That's not what we're saying. But if you are sort of the coach for that, the person that helps them think about all those parts, because one of the other challenges that most people have is, I can think about my exercise, I can think about my nutrition, I can think about, my habits at night after dinner or my snack, whatever. But a lot of times we have a hard time integrating those. So everything seems like a separate thing. And now it feels overwhelming to keep adding all of those things. Where trainers and coaches are in this great position to be able to say, hey, you can add that to this. Or while you're sitting at your desk, if you have a water bottle. Or you have a dog that you love, and just take that walk a little longer, and that'll add movement. You don't have to find a separate time of day to add that movement. So some of those things is really important, and puts trainers and coaches in a really unique spot to be able to provide that.
And I also want to touch a little bit on what this doesn't have to be. There was a point where I was like, well, I'll start taking these functional med courses and learn how to read blood work and how to order blood work and stuff like that. And it definitely does not have to be that. I actually recommend not doing that because so much of this stuff is changing, and some of it is complicated, and you have to worry about what medication they're on, and you're not supposed to, you're definitely not supposed to address that kind of stuff. So really it's more about figuring the right doctor for the right person is a huge asset, because so many people, if they'll come and they have, I've had people with Hashimoto's, or I have people with Graves, and then if like, oh, I know this doctor that's actually has worked with some of my other clients on this, then I could refer to that. And then the doctor can let me know if there's anything that I can do to support that. Same thing with like any kind of pain or injury. I'm really good at different rehab stuff, but I also have several different physical therapists or chiropractors or massage therapists, all this different team. And we've had different talks specifically on this, but I am still taking this holistic approach of I'm helping them along this process. I'm not just being like, well, it's out of my scope, or I don't know how to do this. Like, I'm trying to find the right person for them, and I'm communicating with that person to make sure that we're on the same page, so this person is getting the overall treatment they need. And that's what these people need. They get so much different information. They see 2 different doctors, they might get conflicting stuff. They hear from their sister and their mom, and they hear from what their friends are doing or what's online. There's just tons and tons of information, and so much of it is very, very conflicting. They need someone to kind of help them filter all of this. And so Janine, what are some other things to think about as this of be careful with not going too far, or make sure things that they're learning along this process?
Absolutely. And it can also feel overwhelming as a coach or trainer. It's like, how am I supposed to know about all of these things? And so what we like to do is just break it down into those categories. And we tend to use 10, right? So it's like health, happiness, stress management, relationship, some of the physical stuff, so stamina and strength, overall health, and then and we also talk a little bit about giving fit back. So how do people contribute to their small or larger community. But my point in that is saying, so take those, the same things you might talk to a client about, and take that for yourself and say, where's my comfort level? Yep. Do I have a referral person in each one of those areas? Don't make it up, don't guess. If somebody's talking about sleep and you really haven't dove much into what's current on sleep, it's problematic to guess. But what you can do is say, hey, that's a really good question. It's something that I've been looking into too. Let me do a little bit of work and let me get back to you. Now, get back to that person. But start having some resources, and here's a TED Talk on that. Here's a great podcast on sleep. Here's an expert on this that's doing that. And have those references to do, and then have enough working knowledge that also if somebody comes to you with something really extreme, you recognize that might be a bit extreme or unhealthy for them, and either give them some other resources to educate themselves, or again, refer them to someone else. But even cognitively, if you just kind of create these buckets in your head and your resources, and then just have different information. The other thing that we like to work on a lot is prioritizing, right? So I need to if you're highly stressed all the time, if your client's highly stressed all the time, or has a really negative mindset about their abilities to do anything or make any change in their life, I can give them 8,001 strategies, and I can talk about nutrition all day long and those types of things, but I really need to figure out what their barriers are to feeling like they actually can make change, because we got to move past that and start. Maybe they have misperceptions. Maybe they have a perception that when you're over 50, everything just goes downhill and you can't lose weight and you're automatically going to gain weight. Well, that's inaccurate. It may be accurate for some people under certain medical situations, but it's not accurate in general. But if that's their mindset, if that's what they've been told, it's really going to be hard for them to move anywhere else, mentally and then in strategy-wise. So also thinking about priorities, things that you can focus on and get real comfortable with.
The other importance of this too, and we talked about like not being left in the past, is as a trainer and over the last 30, 40 years, like the evolution of this has changed. Like as you started off as a trainer, like if you just knew some exercise, like you were top notch. And then if you knew some exercise and some nutrition, like you were top notch. And we're going to this holistic approach of like, you need to continue to evolve your craft. You need to figure out what you talked about, the resources. So if someone is not getting very good sleep, like, all right, so is it I've watched some Huberman podcast, Matthew Walker and some of his stuff, even like some of the old school books I gave out, like Lights Out. Like, you need to start like reading, educate yourself, learning from some of the best, even talking to other coaches that are already doing this to learn from them, so you can start having this more holistic approach. Because when a client is looking for a trainer and they're comparing, like, okay, trainer A does workouts, okay, trainer B does workouts and nutrition, and trainer C does, you know, workouts and nutrition, and we'll cover your supplements, and we'll recommend the right doctors, and we'll help with your sleep and all this stuff. Like, trainer C is going to be able to charge a lot more. Trainer C is going to be in much higher demand. Trainer C is going to be able to manipulate their hours because people really want this expert. Versus trainer A, who just does the workouts. Like, there's hundreds of people in our town that can take you through a hard workout. That is not very unique. It's being able to evolve. So the takeaways from here: figure out these areas that in your practice that you're working with your clients, and like, where can you have some more education? Find the resources, find the mentors, find the courses that you can take to really kind of round out, so you can be a more holistic coach, so you are actually a part of the future of fitness. So that's all we have today.